Alright boys and girls, today we're gonna learn English. But first, disclaimer. I'm not an English teacher, but I know a thing or two about the English language. But before we head into the technicalities, I want to ask you a question. For someone whose native language isn't English, is it okay to say that English is my first language? Let me tell you my story. I was born in the States and not long after we came back to Malaysia. So you can see the first absolute language that I was exposed to was Bahasa Malaysia or BM. But by the age of 5, we went back to the States and that's where I started to go to school. My environment totally changed and English became my first language. In fact, my first memories ever were captured in the United States. So you can understand, after a certain number of years, English was embedded in me. With a solid foundation in English, it was easy for me to improve further when I got back to Malaysia, but it still took hard work. It still took a lot of reading and writing for me to improve. While my English went through the roof, my BM went down the drain or was already in the drain. I could understand Malay, but had a hard time conversing it and writing in Malay. It was a race against time. I had no choice but to buck up and catch up because I had 2 years before my UPSR exams. I worked hard. My father tutored me and my sister every day, and it paid off. While my oral capabilities in BM took time to build up, my karangans, my writings, were one of the best in my class, I have to admit, because I love to write. So all I needed to do was translate my creativity and ideas into Bahasa Malaysia or BM. And I think that creativity I garnered from my exposure and my years schooling and living in the United States. And I got an A for UPSR for BM. Straight A's, in fact. Alhamdulillah. But identifying with English primarily also had its setbacks, especially for someone who lives in a country where English is not the official language, even though it is widely used. I kind of didn't feel belong in certain groups of circle of friends, and I felt more comfortable or more relatable with certain people only, with certain peers of mine. But through time, I learned how to adapt myself, and that helped me, enabled me to be able to mingle with all sorts of people while still feeling that, it's all genuine. Talking a lot in English at school also came with some negative comments, also created some negative comments by my peers. I was even once, I remember it clearly, I was accused of, dia ni nak bodek cikgu ke? Padahal cikgu tu cikgu English kot. That's why I was talking in English with her. So, and it's not that I wanted to brag or show off my English skills, but it's because it's the #1 language that I'm most comfortable with. Now, at the same time, I did not neglect my mother tongue. I made an effort to embrace it. I read in Malay, I talked in Malay, and I even built a career talking and conversing in Malay. And up till today, I have to write in Malay, and you kind of have to be good at it too.
Kadar 4.7% untuk suku pertama 2012 dipacu permintaan domestik yang kukuh. Bank Negara MAS mengenakan peraturan baru bagasi kabin untuk semua penerbangan. Penumpang kelas ekonomi hanya boleh membawa satu bagasi tangan dengan berat maksimum 7 kg. Manakala untuk penumpang kelas bisnes dan kelas pertama.
In conclusion, I think it's okay to say that English is my first language, provided that you don't forget and you don't abandon your native tongue. And anyway, it's pretty cool to know more than one language. Not everyone can say that. So, how can you improve your command in English? Identify your level of proficiency in English. It doesn't matter where you're at. Don't compare yourself with others. You don't have to try to use bombastic words that's not within your vocabulary strength. You don't have to write sentences which are too sophisticated or complicated. As long as you use the correct English grammar and that people understand what you're trying to convey, you're good. Watch a lot of English movies, English shows, read a lot of English storybooks, English books, English articles, anything that has good usage of English in it. And while you're watching your movies, even though you can hear clearly what the actors are saying, it's also good to watch with the subtitles on. That will help you gain a better grasp of the English language, actually. And when you're reading materials in English, when you don't understand the meaning or the pronunciation of certain words, check, and check. Also, speak English. Make it a habit to practice English. Talk to your friends, to your family in English. Don't be shy. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be scared of the comments that people can give you. So how can you improve public speaking? Number 1, don't be shy. Jangan segan, jangan malu, but you need to be confident. Set your mind to it. Tell yourself that you are capable and you can do it. Don't let anyone bring you down. You can do it. You got this. Make an effort to improve pronunciation. Be wary of the differences between British English and American English. So depending on what kind of platform you need to talk in English, just make sure you know the differences and know which pronunciations to use. So even though English was my first language, don't get me wrong, when I first started off reading the English news, I mispronounced a lot of words. I'm so embarrassed to tell you, but I confess. And I gave myself a hard time about it. I felt really down. I felt embarrassed, but I didn't give up. I told myself there's always plenty of room to improve. And that's what I did. Because there are a lot of words that you know the meaning to, that you've read before, that you've seen on paper, but maybe never actually had the need to say it out loud. When you're watching those English movies or shows, or when people are talking in interviews, or when you're watching the news in English, listen very carefully how they pronounce the words. When you're reading books or articles in English, why not read it out loud? That can really help you with your oral or oratory skills. Singing also helps, but bear in mind that sometimes the lyrics in songs, or especially in rap songs, they don't use the best grammar, so just be wary of that. Don't think so much, whether you have to go on stage or whether you have to go into the studio and talk in front of the camera, whether you're going to have to present yourself in front of an audience, whether it's just 10 people or 100 of people. Free yourself of any stress before you step on that stage or enter the studio. You have to be in the right zen, in the right state of mind before you start your public speaking. At least for me, that's what I have to do. So I make sure that I'm not that orang kacau. When you think too much, your train of thoughts move very fast, and that sometimes can affect your delivery. It may impede good quality of delivery. Especially if you don't have a script and you need to talk impromptu, make sure you are able to compartmentalize your thoughts so that you are able to deliver structurally, so that people can understand what you're trying to convey. Think about the content that you want to deliver. Don't think about the people that are watching. Don't think about what they think or perceive of you while they're watching you. Let go of all those types of thoughts and just focus on what you're trying to say. Understand what you're saying, because that will manifest itself in the way you deliver. Some people just have a knack of being able to pretend to understand, to know what they're saying, and people will buy it, when in real fact, they don't know what they're saying. They don't understand. But it's always better to understand. With public speaking, you also need to learn good body language. Your body language has to come across as inviting. It needs to look organic and natural. Having the right body language and also the right expressive visuals will help elevate your delivery. Now, do you need a script when it comes to public speaking? In some cases, you certainly do, and you need to memorize that script. But make sure when you memorize that script that it doesn't impede the quality of your delivery. It needs to sound genuine and natural and as organic as possible. If it's too robotic and animated, it won't look that interesting. But for some people, depending on the type of person you are, you may not need a script because sometimes having a script will actually dictate. You let it dictate the way that you deliver. And when that happens, it doesn't become natural. So if having a script doesn't do you a favor, maybe just have some pointers in bullet form to guide you. But sometimes you also have to read from a piece of paper. Make sure that you make eye contact with your audience, wherever they are, whether they're in physical form or whether they're, behind the camera. Make sure that you have eye contact with them from time to time. So what I do for a living, pronunciation is very important to me, and it's part of my job to pronounce words correctly. So I've made a list of commonly mispronounced words, and some of them are Wednesday, not Wednesday. Southern, not southern. Determine, not determine. Debt, not debt. Now in Malaysia, we follow the mold of British English, but at the same time, we are exposed to a lot of American English. So it's very important to be able to pinpoint the differences between British English and American English. I was hanging out with my friend, my Malaysian friend, who had been living in England for a really long time. So she has a really strong British accent, and decided to do a little something fun. Here it is.
I want a glass of water.
I want a glass of water.
Can I have a glass of water?
Can't.
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 What's your tongue? Oh yeah, you're Sussex. Can't.
Can't. Can't.
Important.
Okay.
Important.
Important.
Realization.
Realization. It's the same.
Realization.
Realization.
Innovative.
No, just say how you say it. It's horrid to me. Innovative.
Innovative.
You sound American.
Yeah. I think it goes both ways. They say either innovative or innovative.
No.
You've never heard it innovative.
I've
You never
heard
heard
it,
it
but
like
it doesn't sound right.
Oh.
I'm 40.
You're so big, that's what I say.
I'm 40.
You're not 43. 43, yeah?
I'm 41.
40.
40.
40.
40.
40.
40.
Aluminium.
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 Americans say aluminum.
No, please and thank you.
Yes, please and thank you with me.
You're an exception. What about you?
I don't know, some really exaggerated accent. Oh my god.
Yeah, same. When they try to put on a fake accent.
Yeah.
Just use your own natural accent, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be sound. Doesn't have to sound like it's from overseas.
Or from the telly.
He said Malaysia managed to bring down the RO before, which resulted in 0 daily cases at one point during the second wave of COVID-19 infections last year.
That's quite
Okay,
exaggerated.
your turn.
Not bad.
Lost.
American.
Lost you.
Oh, what must we, no, make them do American.
Yeah. Read this in American.
I can't.
You try.
I can't.
Try.
He said Malaysia managed to bring down the RO before, which
like now.
resulted in
But
0
yeah.
daily cases at one point during the second wave of COVID-19 infection last year. Do you want to come back and say? Yes.
I can't do accents.
You have an accent.
Okay, let me do one full American. In March, the country was put under the movement control order, and when infections eased, it shifted into recovery MCO on June 10th. In the third wave in September,
Okay,
the
you are,
RO
you
was at
psycho.
2.2, and while conditional MCO was imposed, certain economic sectors were allowed. Economic.
Certain. Ah, you don't use certain. Very good. New factor.
So thank you very much, Vicky and Tony. Thank you for watching. But wait, did you subscribe yet? Hit the like button too. See you in the next episode.